often build big houses, and I tend to avoid 50 by 50 lots in The Sims, but I built a house on a 50 by 50 lot for the new pack. As in, like, a house that I built is officially shipping with the game. And so I thought today I would show you guys the process and kind of break down how I built that house, because it has been a process. This house in particular, out of the 3 that I built, is the one that I spent the most time on. Obviously, it's the biggest, so it makes sense, but it was quite the process to get it to a place that I liked. I'm excited to show you that process, because back when I first started building it, we didn't have anything in the game yet. As in, none of the windows or wallpapers or furniture was ready, so I was building it with the base game. I was trying to like build the shell, and I knew what windows were coming. I had seen them. We just didn't actually have them in our version yet, and so I was like using base game windows and base game wallpaper, and it is a mess. It looks like a hot mess, especially once you see the finished product. It's like hard to believe that it used to look the way that it did, but I was working with what I had, okay? It is not my fault. And so here we have the early footage of me starting to work on this lot. You'll notice the lot even looks different than how it ended up looking. So I was looking at reference pictures. I had done some research on houses. This neighborhood is supposed to be a little bit more modern than the other neighborhoods. So I was kind of trying to keep that while also having a somewhat like traditional Japanese house vibe to it. I wanted to kind of have both, like the best of both worlds, if that makes sense. It was definitely a process though. The whole color scheme ended up changing like super last minute. Like I built the house using this sort of like lighter wood texture they had. And then they were like, how about we try something a little bit darker, maybe something more like modern, like black and white. And so I ended up changing it to black and white, like at the very end of the process. Like I think my last version of the lots that I submitted had the color changes, because each week we would submit versions of lots for them to review and then suggest changes. They'd be like, actually, maybe I think you should change the roof here. Maybe you could try this. Maybe we should put a garden here, or things like that. I didn't actually get told to make too many changes. Sometimes feedback would be stuff like, oh, we're adding this new fountain. What if you try that? Or like, oh, you know, maybe you could try to put the new activity table, stuff of that nature. That was the whole first video, by the way, was me just building a shell. The roofing and stuff was definitely quite the process. I knew I wanted to also have this sort of garden area, and I wanted to use the new platforms, but at this point they weren't like done yet. So I was trying to like make things work the way I wanted to and like trying to do all these different things, but we just didn't have them yet. So it was definitely a work in progress. So I guess that's the whole theme of these early versions of the build, is me just being like, well, I wanted to do this, but I didn't have it. So it looks weird. At this point we had just that one type of window, so I was using it everywhere as like a filler because it's all that I had to work with. They ended up adding more, obviously, it just wasn't done yet. And so this is like the earliest version of me trying to figure out a floor plan. I knew I wanted that back area to be the parents' bedroom, like a big master bedroom sort of area. I knew I wanted to have bathrooms, like an ensuite and then one for the hallway. And so I like figured out that part, that side of the house first. I was trying to figure out like how I could put a platform in the parents' bedroom. I ended up swapping the side, so the platform ended up being on the other side and not this like front part. There ends up being a fireplace there where I'm putting that platform now. On the inside, you can see me fiddling with windows. It's so funny to like look back at this and think about how much time I spent fiddling with windows, and then the fact that I didn't even end up keeping them. Like I just changed them all completely. I also ended up making this little garden area grass. It was sand at first, but I ended up changing it. And God, it looks so silly looking back at these doors too, because we didn't have the new doors yet. So I was putting these base game ones. Oh, I also had a base game fence back there. I didn't even realize that. That ends up changing to a different base game fence, and then ends up changing to a half wall with wallpaper on it. So that was definitely a process too, was me like going through how I wanted to do this. I knew I wanted to have a fence around the house because I needed to like close off the lot a little bit more. We can't put too many items on it because it has to run well on lower end computers still. So I was trying to like find this balance of making the lot seem smaller and having like a somewhat small house on a big lot. Because realistically, considering how big the lot is, the house isn't that big. You can see at this point I had completely changed a ton of things. I didn't even record the process of me doing a lot of these changes because at this point I had changed the roof to a different color. I have a different wall back there. I'm trying to put some sort of koi pond thing in right now, which does not stay. I end up putting a fountain in the backyard, but not like that. This was a mistake. I liked the concept, just in practice it wasn't working. So that changes. I don't think I even put wallpaper on this lot for a super long time. I think I just knew that we were gonna get different wallpaper, so I didn't even bother putting any up. I definitely tested out with base game ones on my other houses just to see, but we didn't have wallpaper yet, so I was like, we'll get there when we get there. That's not my problem right now. At this point, I was also using terrain paint to connect the pathways. You also see at this point, there's actually a different environment outside of the house. The pathway, like the road in front of the house actually changes. So I had done this terrain paint, and then they changed the front of the house, like that lot, the neighborhood, and so I adjusted the pathway to match it a little bit better, so that doesn't stay either. This is kind of just me doing a really generic outline of what I wanted to do. We don't have any of the new trees in yet, but I was just trying to figure out, like, here's the shape that I want to go for. I know I want it to be kind of similar to this. I knew we were going to get the red tree, so I put the pink ones down as like a filler. The pink ones don't stay. I like the pink trees, but I just wanted to kind of mimic what it was going to look like once we had the red ones. I definitely messed with the front of the house a lot too. I wanted to have like an interesting looking front to the house, so I wanted to do cool roof pieces. You'll see at this point I've got a lot of curved roof bits. I ended up changing them to be flat. I figured it did look a little bit more modern than that. Not flat, but like straight and not curved. I also ended up putting in like a glass roof above the kitchen area, which is to the right side. And I changed how the roof looks over here. This ends up being like a flat platform space instead of it being like the roof. There's like that little walkway, and I swapped the roofing there. And then this is where the glass roof goes. Oh my God, we're starting over. That's hilarious. I didn't even realize. I rebuilt the same thing basically, just again, I guess. Wow. Well, as you can see, all that time I spent building the first version, and then I just was like, no, let's try again. You can see it's a very similar shape to how it was before. It just is different. It's a fresh slate. I really do think that this house turned out super nice. I'm really proud of the exterior of it. I think that I'm excited to play with it too. I think this one's a nice one, and I love the family that lives here. I think it's really fitting for them. It was so exciting for me to see because they didn't have the Sims made when I was making the house. It was exciting for me to see because when I was building the house, they hadn't made the Sims yet. They basically showed us like a spreadsheet kind of here's the house, here's the family, here's each Sim, and they had like a description, they had their traits written down, they had like what their interests are, and then we kind of based it off of that. So I knew what the Sims were going to be like, they just hadn't been made yet. So that was kind of fun to like imagine who lives here and like imagine what they like and what their style is, and then decorate the bedrooms for the kids, knowing the kid loves snowboarding and like the teenager has the guitar skill. So I was trying to like make these rooms that fit their interests. You can see there's like a huge patio space in this backyard area. I was actually planning on putting a pool there for a super long time. I actually had a pool there for the majority of the original part of the build, and then at the very end I ended up swapping it to like a fountain space instead. I thought the fountain like looked more elegant and more fancy. I mean, pools are fancy too, but I just think that the fountain looked a little bit better. And in my head I was like, it's a mountain world. Like, on one hand, having this like rich family who has a pool they can only use like a very small portion of the year kind of makes sense, because like again, you know, it's just this like luxurious item that they happen to have and then never even use, but it's sort of like this display of their wealth. But then I think the fountain is kind of similar to that, and it just looks cooler because I could put like lily pads in it and stuff. So I ended up swapping it to that. You'll see that in the finished product. So you can see at this point I went into debug to get the trees because these red trees existed in debug but not in our build catalog yet. So I put them down. The trees that are on the finished build are the real ones. They aren't debug ones, but I wanted to see how the red trees would look, so I put them down anyway. One of the things they warned us about when we were trying to build this and make the lots run really well and not have to remove anything was to try to use very limited different kinds of wallpaper and flooring, like maybe try to stick to just a couple different wallpapers and not have too many different plants. And when they said that, I was like, oh no, because I already have 3 different trees on this lot. I ended up putting some like bushes, there's different plants in the little garden area, and oh god, the floor plan. I do not envy my past self who was trying to figure this out because I really struggled with the floor plan. I don't know, it's just a big space and I wanted to have these big nice rooms and I wanted it to be very open and airy and pretty, and trying to like lay out the space in a way that sort of checks all those boxes was really hard for me. I think the staircase was the biggest problem, and I was also trying to have this like split level thing going on with the platforms, and so I was trying to like lay out the rooms in ways that made it that I could split level it, but it was hard because I didn't know like where to put the walls, and like I wanted to have a fireplace in the living room, but then there's like a big wall in the middle of the space, and how do you separate it? This took a lot of fiddling, not even just in this footage, but like over the course of the whole time I was working on it, because I didn't record everything I did. I could have like hours and hours and hours of footage if I had recorded everything. You can see we're kind of slowly getting somewhere though with the floor plan. This ends up being kind of what it stays as. There's a little bathroom there, there's a tiny entryway, we have the kitchen dining space in the back. This room, the like piano piano room that it ends up being, this area where the stairs are, this was the hardest part. This is what I changed the most because I wanted to have it be like split leveled a little bit with the platforms, but like I didn't know how to lay it out because of the needing to have the door to the bathroom and the door to the living room and the door to the bedroom, and like it just was very hard for me to sort of like separate it and make it work in a way that isn't ridiculous. But I think I managed to make it happen. I also didn't know how to furnish it because it was sort of this like hallway space, but I wanted it to be a functional room. I think that was a big priority for me with these builds, is I wanted the furnishing to like actually make sense and be functional. I wanted to have items like the chess table and the piano that your Sims could actually use, because it's a big space filler to have a big piano, but also your Sims can use it. And that's what we need. So now I'm putting like filler furniture. You can see that we barely had anything from the new pack yet. Like I didn't have the couches yet at this point. I had the counters, so I was putting the counters down as kind of a space filler. We didn't have the island version yet though. We just had the regular version. So that was kind of funny trying to like lay out space, because again, at this point, I didn't really know what furniture we were going to get completely. So I was sort of just putting things like, I know I want to have a counter here. I know I want to have a fridge here. I guess I'll replace it when I actually get the fridge. So it was kind of just this work in progress that way. So it was kind of funny trying to just like guess what I was going to want to do and like guess what color scheme I want to have and stuff like that. I was so proud of this kitchen layout originally. You'll see that I have that stove inside of the island because this stove, for the first time ever, is flat. There's no like backing that sticks up, so you can put the stove on the island, but I ended up changing it. So it's not even this way in the finished build, but I was so proud of that concept. I ended up switching it to be a smaller island because I wanted to have like a platform, like decorative platform in the back of the kitchen. So I ended up changing it to be smaller, but just know that I was very impressed with that concept. The way that I had the island was so good. That's also the color scheme that I kept for most of the builds in the very beginning. I used that like lighter wood everywhere. It wasn't until like the very end that I made it all black and white. This is just more stress and messing with the floor plan. This room was a disaster for so long. It took me so long to figure out what I wanted to do with it. Look at this. What am I doing? And again, I'm just sort of furnishing randomly with stuff that's basically filler furniture that ends up completely changing in the end. None of the bedrooms look the same. None of the furniture looks the same. And we have like a couple beds, we have like a dresser, there's a single table that we have. We really were kind of lacking furniture. So once we got more, the house completely changed. I mean, look, this bedroom ends up being like a teenager's blue and green bedroom. And look at it right now. Yeah, this house is very, very different from how it ended up looking. But this is the color scheme that I was going for the majority. Oh, here we go with the wallpaper. This is a base game wallpaper I was using as a filler because it was kind of similar to the one we were gonna get. So I had this base game one like everywhere in all of my builds. Oh, I can't wait to get it changed. Even on the outside? Oh God. Just you wait till we get the real one. It's fine. Everything's fine. So we're coming in again. You can see that I've moved that pond thing to the front of the house. This is different. We've sort of got this area now with the path. This ends up sort of staying sort of similarly to that. But we finally have wallpaper. So we're coming in and like finally changing it. Again, it's still that lighter color, which I do like. I like how it looked in the lighter version, but I do think the dark one sort of makes more sense, what I ended up changing it to. We ended up using a black and white swatch basically. But you can see it's like finally kind of starting to make a little bit more sense. We have a lot of swatches to change still, but it's starting to come together some more. We have the fence and the new columns now, so I'm adding those things in. We have new doors finally. Like with this update that we got, this version of the game that we had everything all of a sudden. So that was so nice. There are still more things to come, but like this is when we got like all the windows, all the doors, the wallpapers, the flooring. Like we finally had everything to work with, and it like finally starts to make more sense. Ooh. I forgot how light it was inside for so long. Yeah, it's definitely different in this version. I almost forgot that it looked like this for the majority of the beginning. It kind of hurts my eyes. It's so bright. But at this point, like the whole layout is right. Now we're kind of just messing with color scheme, and like this area too, the bathrooms end up being changed a ton. The bathrooms in that piano room is where we really have to mess with things still. All right, so this is in the middle of me trying to adjust everything and adjust the color scheme. So you can see we have sort of swapped it to a very, very different style. It looks like dramatically different on the interior, and I am still struggling with that piano room. It never stops. The piano pain never stops. But this is me just going back and forth and changing swatches and trying to pick flooring and trying to decide what looks best and stuff like that. And I really do think at the end of the day, it turned out really nice. It just took a while to get there. There's a lot of heartache trying to pick colors and stuff. The rugs were a big issue too. I wanted to have a rug in this dining room, but like I couldn't find one that matched and was the right size. And I'm so used to sizing up and down rugs that it was a big struggle trying to pick a rug that actually worked in here. I don't even know. I think I might have just had no rug at the end. Like I might have just had none. I'm really not even sure what I ended up going with. I guess we'll see when we go into game and look at it. You can see the bedroom is kind of coming together now. It's all sort of starting to make sense. This is what the kids' room ends up finally looking like. We kind of kept this color scheme in here, except we made it purple instead of orange. This room, I messed with the teens room a lot. I know I'm not in it right now, but I ended up trying to like swap the teens room and the furniture, like adjusting where it is on the walls. Like the bed area stays the same, but I ended up trying to add like some workout equipment and stuff. I wanted the room to feel a little bit more full because it seemed so big and empty to me, so I ended up like adjusting that stuff a lot. You can see me like trying to do it now. I'm just trying to move stuff around so much. It was hard trying to fit it all with no move objects. I'm just so used to using build cheats, you know, that trying to do this with no cheats was very difficult for me. I just couldn't put things where I wanted them to be, you know? Oh, I'm back to the piano room again. When does it stop? Here I am adding that fountain I was talking about. You can see this garden is grass now. Everything else is basically done. I love how this fountain ended up looking. I am so proud of this. Like, I just think it looks beautiful in the backyard. I'm really glad I did that. I made some like finishing touches to the front. You can see this part is different now. Before there was like two little pathways that walked up to it, and now it's just flat across the front. And so I ended up changing this pathway to be these little tiles that go all the way back. And now I want to show you guys the finished product. So here is the final house, here's the family, and here's what we ended up with. So you can see it is dramatically different from how it first started. It looks nothing like the original build. The bones are there, but it really looks not the same. In any way, shape, or form. I tried to make it look a lot more modern, or at least have more modern touches. You can see I used these doors here. We have these like glass windows. I wanted to have some different windows in some places. I love how this skylight looks. Like, I think this is so cool. I think the landscaping turned out great. Again, I'm a huge fan of this area. I'm proud of myself for this, okay? If only you knew how many hours were put into this. I'm like embarrassed at how much time I spent on this. I'd be up until like 2 a.m., like multiple days in a row trying to work on it. So each week on Fridays, we would have like the new builds due. So each week we would send them our save files for what we've done that week and like updates, and then they would come back with feedback, and then we would adjust things and then come back with feedback. And so it's just like a constant like back and forth. They were very involved in the process. They knew what they wanted, but we kind of had free reign, I guess, a little bit with the creative stuff of it. Like this, I built this house. They didn't tell me what to build. They just kind of wanted like a more modern, inspired, bigger home. And I knew who lived here, and I kind of went from there. I think one of my favorite parts is this little platform space, and then this one back here. For some reason, all these different levels here, they speak to me. There's just something about it that I can't get over. You'll see I did change the counter. My beautiful stove is no longer inside of the double counter. I love that, but it just didn't fit. And I think that I like the room the way that it looks now. I love the table. I love this living room with the little poofs and stuff. I think this whole space is so cute. I love how like symmetrical it is too, at least in this area, and like how it kind of, it's balanced, okay? Here's the finished piano room, what I finally came up with. You'll see there's like a little bit of a platform where you step down from the living room and up into the parents' bedroom. I tried to have some combos of different door types too, because I love how these look. These are kind of traditional Japanese looking doors, but I wanted to have that kind of combo of both, like these more modern bedroom doors that don't have glass in them because it's into a bedroom and like into a bathroom, but while still looking really nice. I also put this mountain painting that I felt so cute putting down. I was like, look, it's the mountain. But there's basically just a sitting area here with some paintings and stuff. There's this bathroom. You can see the toilet's in a separate room, but it's still like attached to the bathroom. A lot of times in Japanese houses, the toilet will be like in a different room. So for example, imagine if there was like 2 doors here and the toilet was like here and the rest of the bathroom was here. I just wasn't sure if that like fit very well in this space. I didn't want to have 2 doors too close together. And from what I've heard, I don't think you're supposed to put a door in the tile where the stairs are. Even like halfway in the tile like that, it actually disappeared in the like file transferring process. So I ended up putting it farther over. I would have preferred it to be right here, but for some reason the staircase and the door, they don't like being that close together. I think it still looks good though. Then we have this parents' bathroom, which I think looks so fancy. I loved the marble flooring. And then upstairs we have a small hallway and then the 2 kids' bedrooms. I had a lot of fun decorating for them, like knowing the kids' personalities and like trying to figure it out. I knew the son was into guitar and he loved snowboarding. Gave him a laptop because like he's a teenager and he needs one, maybe for school or something. I love the void critter on the bed, and like I gave the daughter, she has some postcards and she's got this little sciencey table and stuff like that. I had so much fun decorating for them. I really do think that overall this house turned out amazing. It was a process to get there. It is very different from how it first started out. It's funny to look back on like the first footage. I mean, like the whole thing looks different. I mean, look at this. It's just kind of silly to think about. All in all, this whole process has been like the best thing that has ever happened to me. I genuinely cannot believe that I was given the opportunity to build houses for a Sims pack. Like, my build is in the world. So many people are gonna play with this. Like, isn't that incredible? I feel so lucky and special. It's so cool. It's like my life's dream come true. Genuinely a dream come true. And honestly, I think that them doing this, obviously I'm biased because they picked me as one of the builders, but them doing this, like giving people from the community an option to build for the pack, even if it's not me and it's, or YouTubers at all, and it's just builders that don't make content, like having actual Sims players make the lots for the pack makes them so much better. Like, the rest of the world looks amazing. Every single lot in this pack is amazing. I don't know. I think it turned out really well. I'm really proud of this whole world. I think it looks so cool. I'm so impressed by like what Deli and James and Dawn did. Please go check out their videos. I'll link them down below. I'm showing you what I did, but I'm sure you want to see what they did too. I'll link my other videos on this pack down below as well. And on that note, I'm going to go. So please make sure to leave a like and comment and subscribe and do all those fun YouTube things. And in case you guys didn't know, I post new videos every single day. And so I will see you all tomorrow. Bye, everybody. There's something about that glass roof that really speaks to me. I don't know what it is, but you show me a skylight and I'm sold. Like, it just looks so cool in this build.